Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the Christmas Battleforce boxes. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so we already broke down the Warhammer 40,000 Christmas Battleforces, and today we're taking a look at the Age of Sigmar boxes. We're going to be focusing in on the MSRP value and then the savings relative to that value. Also going to take a look at the composition, and then essentially talk a little bit about the spearhead boxes. Do they go along good with each other? Is there a lot of redundancy? And overall, are these good boxes to start a new army with or to expand on? So we got 4 boxes to look at today for Age of Sigmar. First off is the Cities of Sigmar Battleforce. Alright, so first we have our composition is the Marshal and his little companion. That is $45. Then we have the Command Corps, which is $58. We have the Fusil Major for $58. We have the Great Cannon for $58. We have the Fusiliers for $60. And then we have the Cavaliers for $65. And based on what we've seen throughout the year, we're presuming or assuming or guessing that these boxes are going to be about $210. Just slightly cheaper than the Warhammer 40,000 boxes. If we total up the MSRP of all the models inside, all the individual kits, it's going to come out to $335. So that's going to give us roughly a 35% savings over MSRP, which is pretty typical for these boxes. So one thing I really like about this box is you have a decent amount of everything. You have your Marshal that's a character, you have your Command Corps, which is characters, and then you also have the Fusil Major. So you have 3 different characters in this box set, which is very important for the synergies of the Cities of Sigmar. You also have a nice artillery piece in the cannon. You have a nice chaff unit in the Fusiliers, which have some ranged firepower as well. And then you have your Cavaliers for a little bit of that mounted cavalry, a little bit of extra speed and mobility. So overall composition-wise, I think this is a really good box. There is a little bit of redundancy with some of the previous kits or boxes that have come out. So you have your Spearhead box, which has some Cavaliers and a Great Cannon in it, which isn't bad because you're probably going to want to run 10 Cavaliers. Cavalry is very good in Age of Sigmar. The cannon is nice because the Cities of Sigmar do rely on some of their ranged firepower. Having 2 of them might be a little bit much. But then you also get some of the chaff units, which are melee, and then you also have the mounted Marshal. So I think overall the synergy between these 2 boxes is pretty nice. I think this is a great jumping off point for a new Cities of Sigmar army or expanding on an existing army. And overall, I think this is a pretty nice box. Alright, and then next we have the Charnelgrand Jury. So this is the new Flesh Eater Courts Battleforce. So getting started, we have Gorymane, a new character, for $42. Then we have a squad of the Morbeg Knights for $60. Another squad of the Morbeg Knights for $60. Then we have a squad of Horrors for $60. And then we have a squad of Flayers for $60. And either the Horrors or Flayers can be built as either one. It's the same kit. And then we also have the Crypt Guard for $52. So if we total that all up, it's going to come out to $334. Again, roughly a 35% savings, right in line with what we would expect from these. And then compared to the actual Spearhead box, in that one, you're going to get the Archregent character, the Vargulf Courtier character, and then you're going to get another 3 of the Morbeg Knights, and then 10 of the Crypt Guard. So the Flesh Eater Courts range isn't super diverse. They don't have a ton of kits, but overall there is quite a bit of crossover. And then also inside this box set as well, you basically have 4 of your 6 units are duplicates of each other. So I definitely would have liked to seen a little bit more diversity in these various box sets, a little bit less of the overlap. I think a real nice centerpiece model, maybe a zombie dragon or Usharan, would have really set this box up. But I think other than the overlap or duplicate units that are included in the set, the one thing that's missing, specifically when we compare it to the Cities of Sigmar box, is the lack of characters. This only has 1 character. He is definitely a nice character. But again, the Flesh Eater Courts rely very heavily on their actual buffing characters and synergies. So the viability of this army on its own is just not great with only 1 character in it. The MSRP savings is right in line with the other boxes, but I think composition-wise, this box definitely could have been better. So while I do think this box is pretty nice, it's nice to have the flying cavalry. You have the option to build either the Horrors or the Flayers, so you could potentially have another 6 winged big boys, and then a little bit of chaff. I think overall this is lacking just a little bit. So while it is still a good box, I don't think it's quite as good as the Cities box, and definitely leaves a lot to be wanted. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. Alright, and then next we have the Ironjawz Wrekkamob, the new Battleforce Ironjawz. So because there's not actually a spearhead box for this, there's not a lot to really compare it to. This is the first like big box that we've seen for the Ironjawz since they've gotten their range refresh. All the models in this box set are brand new models, which is definitely nice. We're expecting a spearhead to come in the future, and I'm sure there'll be at least some overlap, but I do think composition-wise, this is a nice box, even though it's a bit on the redundant side as well. I'd always like to see lots of the new miniatures, or in this case, all new miniatures included. So first we have the Big Pig. He's got 3 different build options. He is $80. Then we have the Brute Ragers. We've got a squad of them for $60, a second squad of them for $60. And one nice thing about those is, again, that's a dual kit. So you have 2 different build options for them. So that gives you a little bit of diversity. And then you have a squad of 10 Ardboys for $62.50 and a second squad of 10 Ardboys for $62.50. That's going to give us a total of $325 in MSRP. So a little closer to like a 30% savings, or a little less value in this box set. Now, that being said, I do think this is one of the best boxes because this is our first opportunity to get a discount on some of the new Ironjawz. So that is always really nice when you haven't seen any discounts in the past and now you have an option for one. I've definitely been holding out for the Spearhead myself, as I love the Ironjawz and it's one of my biggest armies, and I've been reluctant to buy any of the new kits since they came out, waiting on the new Spearhead, which still hasn't arrived, so hopefully early 2025. So for me, this box is definitely appealing because it's a lot of new miniatures, ones that I don't have to expand my existing range. But that being said, I already have a lot of brutes. I also have multiples of the wyvern or like war cabbage, and then I've got a decent amount of like the buffing characters as well. So with this box set, once again, you only see one character, and that's assuming that you build your Big Pig as the character, which I would highly recommend, especially if this is going to be your starting force, because you definitely need characters in your Ironjawz army. And then from there, we have like 20 of your like basic troops in the Ardboys, which is a really nice kit. They're actually really good in game terms, but you're definitely going to feel like they're a little bit lacking if this is your starting army without some of the buffing characters, giving them like extra damage or like special abilities. And then the Ragers, again, are a really nice kit, but I would have much rather seen like one squad of Brutes and one squad of the Brute Ragers, because the Brutes come in 5 for a pack and are sort of a linchpin for the army. But overall, I think composition-wise and build-wise, this is nice. But again, the biggest thing that's lacking is definitely characters. Age of Sigmar definitely relies very heavily on like the buffing characters and like the actual damage dealing of the characters themselves. So realistically, for the most part, it's very unlikely that you're going to see like a custom-built army for actual game terms that's only going to have a single character in it with this many other models. But definitely nice to see these discounted for the first time, and definitely looking forward to like a little bit of diversity when the new Ironjawz Spearhead does come out. But not knowing what's in that box set, I think realistically, if you wanted to, you could pick up 2 of these boxes, but you would still feel like you were missing some of those buffing characters. But overall, nice box. Alright, and then moving on to our last of the Age of Sigmar boxes, we have the Shudderblight Cyst. So this is the Battleforce Maggotkin of Nurgle. And in this box set, you're going to get one of the new Harbinger models, which is absolutely amazing, $60 for him. And then you're going to get 2 sets of 2 Blight Lords for $79. And with each of those boxes, you could potentially build either just the regular Blight Lords, or you could turn one of them into a Lord of Afflictions and then have a single Puscoil Blight Lord. So that definitely gives you some optionality where you could potentially build one from each kit into a character and give yourself 3 total characters, or you could just do it with one. So definitely some nice options here. And then we had the Rotmire Creed, which was previously that Warcry warband, which is a nice set of like cool sculpt minis. That is $62.50. And then we have a squad of 5 Blight Kings for $62.50 as well. Total MSRP on this box set is $343. So if we expect this at about $210, this is going to give us a little over 35% discount over purchasing the individual kits, which is always nice. Composition wise, you have like a little squad of chaff, some of like the more durable sort of like linchpin of the army. You've got decent mobility with the flies, and then you have a mounted character, which is nice. You have the potential to build up to 3 characters with this box set, or only a single one if that's the route you want to take. So again, the dual purpose of like some of these kits is really nice because it does give you some diversity in what you actually build and play. And then if we compare this over to the actual Spearhead, you're going to get the Spoilpox Scrivener, 10 Plague Bearers, 5 more Putrid Blight Kings, and then 2 of the Puscoil Blight Lords. So decent amount of overlap here. This is definitely an army that's like lacking in some of the diversity of choice as well. You could definitely pair this up nicely, and you would have like some decent buffing characters. You would have optionality as to whether or not you want more of the just flies, or whether you want to turn them into some of the characters. You would also have the option for 2 Blight Kings, units of 5, or just 1 big brick for 10. And overall, I think this is a pretty nice box. I think the biggest problem that we see with some of these boxes is the lack of characters. Obviously, I've referred to it many times before, and Sigmar is really like Hero Hammer, where you rely heavily on like not only the actual damage output, but the buffing of the characters themselves. But realistically, I think like most of these boxes are pretty nice. They're all right around the same value. And with the exception of the Cities of Sigmar box, you have like multiple different build options for a lot of the kits inside, which is definitely nice. And overall, I think these are pretty nice boxes. Assuming they're going to be priced lower than the 40k boxes, we definitely see a little less value inside of these, like MSRP savings. But the percentage discount is about the same. It would have been really cool to see a 5th box, a little bit more optionality, but we know based on what Games Workshop has done in the past, they always put out a little bit more 40k than Sigmar, just because of popularity. We also know that a lot of the 40k boxes tend to sell out really quickly, and we don't usually see that with the Sigmar boxes. Oftentimes you'll walk into a friendly local game store and find Christmas boxes from the previous year, or even a couple years going back, which honestly is nice, especially if you're just getting into the game or getting into a new faction, to have access to some of those older boxes, because they are in general a really nice value. So let me know what you think of the new Sigmar boxes this year. Are there any factions that you really wish you would have seen? Me personally, I think it would have been a home run for Games Workshop to put out a Skaven box. A lot of people got into Skaven with the new Skaventide release, the new range refresh, and are super excited about it. So seeing a nice expansion force that would bring that army from like the roughly 1,300 points that it is now up to 2,000 points, give it a little bit of like optionality and diversity from the stuff in the Skaventide box, offer some of those new kits at a nice discount, would have been a really good decision and probably would have sold extremely well because there are so many new Skaven players looking to expand their forces. Potentially could have done a Stormcast box as well, but I find that typically you can find really good deals on Stormcast because they're included in almost all of the previous starter sets. And then on top of that, Games Workshop has waited quite a while to actually release the Stormcast Eternals, and I'm sure that they're hesitant to discount brand new models when they would prefer to sell them as individual kits rather than in a big bundle. So let me know down below what you think of the boxes, which ones you're excited about or going to be picking up. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products. Make sure to tell them that Warhammer Man sent you. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.